This is the Lacrosse Show. We're back, and we have on the line one of the special people in the game of lacrosse, a guy we all call Coach. We also call him Dougie Fresh, and I'm glad to be part of the Get Fresh crew. Dougie, how are you this morning?
I'm doing very well, Billy T. And Sean. Sean's with you, right?
No, Sean had to work today. He had to go out and make a nickel. I don't pay him enough.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Having me on the show second time this season makes me feel like a rock star, brother.
Well, I tell you what, in my book, you are a rock star. Dougie, we've just been talking about just some comportment issues on the field, from coaches to players and things of that nature, and talking a little bit about fundamentals and how they seem to be lacking, and not just at the high school level, but all the way across the board. Talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing, because I know you watch a lot of lacrosse. You watch the girls' games because your girls are playing, but you also watch a lot of lacrosse at the D1 and D3 level. And
in high school, I couldn't agree with you more. I was at Final Four. It was a rewarding experience for me. And let me preface this interview by saying this isn't about me, and this isn't about my camps. This is about the game and the people who play it. And the topic seems to be, if I'm correct, if I'm wrong, the skill camps or teaching camps versus the travel team starting too young.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to use my daughter first as an example, Maya, my youngest. She started middle school lacrosse in fourth grade. As a rising seventh grader, she started going to camps, instructional camps. 4 years she went to Duke. And one of those 4 years, she doubled up and went to Georgetown. As a rising sophomore, she went out for a travel elite team out of Richmond, coached by Brooke Ireland, the wife of James Ireland, big name in lacrosse. I think he graduated in 92, starting goalie for UVA, and very successful. And Brooke herself was very successful as a player. And, of course, the other coach was Megan Ayers. I'll never forget that tryout, how nervous Maya was. And when she made the team, I could have peeled her off the ceiling. Then as a rising junior, she makes the national team for the Mid-Atlantic region. As a rising senior in high school, she would have made the national team a second time, except we held her out because of the concussion during her junior season. And the coaches even called us and said, "What's going on? Well, where's Maya? We need her." And they understood the situation. And she just finished her freshman season at the University of Mary Washington. They were 13-4. More importantly, she got great grades. And she feels through this progression like she's a better player because of it. And she's extremely motivated. She's either doing stadium stairs, running, or going to the weight room. She just got back from the weight room, and I got to share a funny story with you, because when I was a player myself in college, fortunate enough to be one, as she is fortunate enough to be one, whenever I didn't do anything on any given day, stairs, run, or go to the weight room, my father would say, "That's fine. There's somebody in Long Island working harder than you are right now. It's going to take your spot next season." So here I am telling her the same thing when she doesn't do something. So I really think there's a time and place for everything, Billy. And I think first and foremost, the NCAA, if they truly represent the student athlete, they need to step up to the plate and stop this madness of these kids committing verbally when they're a rising freshman or rising sophomore. They haven't even played 1 second of varsity lacrosse. Until that happens, we're always going to have this problem, and the fundamentals are going to be lagging.
And there's no question about it. I mean, you mentioned the Division I national championship game last Monday on Memorial Day, and you and I talked about this off the air, the fact that Notre Dame probably lost the game early in the first half because of just turnovers, and they weren't turnovers that were caused by Duke. They're turnovers, just missed passes, poorly thrown passes, thrown in places they shouldn't be thrown. You got to wonder some of that. At that level, in that game, and they had played Duke before and lost a heartbreaker. Were they maybe a little tight that first half? I don't know. But you're right. The ball was thrown away, and balls weren't caught the Sherman Cup. But I saw that in the Salisbury Tufts game. I saw that in the semifinals. I saw it in the quarterfinals. I see it
sitting next to a high school parent, wants me to help advise, which way his son should go. And he's shooting sidearm. Everybody thinks when you shoot sidearm or three-quarter, you can get more velocity. And he's flinging the stick across his body. And if he's shooting right-handed, where does the ball go? Wide left. If he's shooting left-handed, where does it go? Wide right, because he's throwing it across his body. He hasn't first found that release point overhand, being fundamentally sound. Once you find that release point and establish where it is to get to the target that you're aiming for, then you can add these other things to the game that make it exciting, like the Thompsons did, like the Canadians do. But I can assure you, before that flare and aerobatic type play occurred, those young men were fundamentally sound, first and foremost, and that's what we're missing the boat.
No doubt about it. We're talking to Coach Doug Bartlett, former head coach at VMI and director of the Lacrosse Academy. Doug, I was watching a game between Upper Arlington and Olentangy Liberty on Wednesday night, and one of the things that I saw right away was that the overall level of play is just down. Field awareness, IQ, those types of things. And one of the things I used to always tell my guys, it says, as a team, we get better from February to June, but you get better as an individual player from June to February. Telling these guys, if you want to be a good lacrosse player, if you want to have something more to bring to the field next season, you got to develop it during the off season. And what can you just talk to us a little bit about? How you approach young people about just that fact.
Well, first, I think it's important for kids to be kids again. All right, and by that I mean, it's okay to be playing U11, U13 seasons, middle school seasons, whatever you want to call them, JV seasons. But there's a time and place to begin this travel. And as I use my daughter as an example, she went to multiple instructional camps before she even ventured into the, as we call them, travel teams, or fortunate enough for her, the elite level. And the other thing that's equally important is to play multiple sports. I think you talk to Dom Starja, any big-time coach. We could talk about big-time players where Brendan Fowler, who was the MVP last year in the championship game, didn't score a single goal, didn't have a single assist, but dominated the faceoffs. He himself was a football player, a wrestler, and lacrosse player. I mean, lacrosse has the offensive and defensive philosophies of basketball, to a certain extent, the physicality of football, the speed and quickness of hockey and soccer, and certainly if you're a wrestler, there's a great transition to being a face-off committee. And then even if you play handball or racquetball, the hand-eye coordination, anything you can do to increase your athletic IQ is going to be, in the end, is going to make you a better player at whatever sport you choose to play when you get to the college level, or maybe when you get to the high school level, rising juniors, rising sophomores, and you want to, put yourself on the map. I think there's a time and place for everything, and I think right now we're doing it too soon, and we're bypassing the teaching, which means we're bypassing the fundamentals, which means the quality of the play is falling backwards.
Well, one of the things you're talking about playing other sports, earlier on this season, we had the head trainer from Ohio Wesleyan was on. And one of the things that he said is that we're seeing a lot more injuries in lacrosse. He said because guys are playing just lacrosse and not other sports, and they're not developing, the muscles, the overall musculature that would be developed if they played basketball, if they played football, if they wrestled, because all the muscles they're using are all the lacrosse-specific muscles, and he said we're seeing more injuries because of it. And he thinks that that's one of the real big reasons why that's happening, Doug, is that kids aren't playing other sports.
I couldn't agree with you more. I've had the same conversation with our head athletic trainer here at the Virginia Military Institute, who's been here for 25 years, Lance Fujiwara, and he's seen it all, and he's considered he's highly regarded in his profession.
Yes, he is.
And we've had this exact same discussion. And there's a second issue it's affecting their athletic IQ if they don't play multiple sports. So they're not making the right decisions at any given moment because, as I mentioned before, these sports are so interrelated. And then the third thing is burnout. It's unfortunate someone has to wait to their junior season in college to be a contributor at their team, for their team rather. And I've seen this. He walks into the office his rising junior year and says, "Coach, I'm gonna hang it up." And the coach goes, "Wait a minute, you're on the cusp of being a major contributor for me." "Well, I've been playing the sport for 12 years year round. I'm spent." I would be too. And I can't argue that. I have no answer for that argument because anybody does something for 12 to 14 years year round and nothing but that better be an NFL player, an NBA player, or playing hockey and making some major money.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. Well, Dougie, on a lighter note, I got to ask you this question: how's the lawyer doing?
Oh, he's doing fantastic. He'll be at camp and he'll be his usual self, and he'll energize those young men like no one else can. And I'm fortunate to have a nucleus of staff guys that have been with me, like yourself, for 10 to 15 years, in some cases longer. And when I talk about, I'll talk about the Lacrosse Academy. I'll talk about teaching camps. Let's recognize the fact that I don't have the only teaching camp out there.
Right.
This is the 27th summer coming up, and before then, I worked the camp circuit for 10 years, and anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks in a row, I would be on the road straight, going from camp to camp, trying to make extra money. Of course, I started doing that when I was 5 years old. That's why I'm still so young. But I'll be honest with you. The two camps I took the very most from were the Army camp and the Hobart camp. Great teaching camps. And I was fortunate enough to be on the staff of Notre Dame's teaching camp, another great one. So, when I talk about the importance of going to teaching camps, and I talk about the fact that I'm a camp owner of the Lacrosse Academy, I don't want to come across like this is all about me, this is all about our camp. But you've been there many, many years, Billy, and you see we're very careful about our teaching progression. We're very heavy on the teaching the fundamentals. We advertise a 7-to-1 ratio. You know very well we overstaff.
Yep.
We like kids to get a lot of reps because you learn by doing, not by talking.
That's exactly
right. And then
right.
you correct those mistakes while they're doing them. And, of course, what separates us from all the rest is that the private lesson concept. There's no other camp in the country where a young man can have 2 private lessons, 20 minutes in length each, with him, a coach, and a goal.
Absolutely.
That requires guys like you to be on the field as long as 100 minutes longer a day. I'll be forever indebted to my staff because they make the camp go, because they work harder than any other staff in the country because of those private lessons. But because of those private lessons and the goalie compound and the extra face-off instruction, I think we probably separate ourselves from the pack. But, again, it's up to the parents to decide what to do and where to go. But I would strongly encourage them, these U9, U11, maybe even U13 players, if they're going to play on a travel team, it should be – I don't know why U9 and U11 do it, quite frankly.
Right.
U13 should be limited. When Maya played on this travel team, the coach was very careful to he played in no more than 3 tournaments. I think one summer they played 4, because by the second or third week in July, she wanted the girls to have some summer,
absolutely,
some life.
Well, Dougie, you can hear the music in the background. We're up on a break, and I want to thank you for taking your time out this morning, and look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks here in Ohio.
You got it, Billy. Thank you so much. Take care.
All right, Dougie, take care. That was Doug Bartlett, former head coach at VMI and the director of the Lacrosse Academy. And this is AM 1230 Fox Sports Radio. We'll be right back.